Hello, I'm David Christman, and welcome to the last episode of Film Focus before next school year. One of the questions I often get asked is what my favorite film is. And I thought I'd share with you today, not my favorite film, but rather a few of them. Once again, I find myself in the position of having to narrow down what I share with you. While I could simply tell you what my favorite films are, that's something I like to keep to myself unless people ask me in person. Instead, I think I'll share with you in a way that might get you to watch something that you haven't before. There are a lot of genres of films, so I thought I'd give you my favorite films from a variety of them. Let's go with horror films, comedies, musicals, and the good old standby, the action movie. Let's start out with what everybody knows, the action movie. There are definitely a lot of them, but my favorite by far has to be Equilibrium, directed by Kurt Wimmer and starring Christian Bale. The film takes place in a dystopian future where the population is controlled by a drug that blocks emotion and is policed by agents known as grammaton clerics. When cleric John Preston, played by Bale, misses a dose of the drug, he begins to feel emotion and fights to take down the system he helped enforce. While the acting is decent, where Equilibrium really shines are the action scenes. Mixing hand-to-hand, fast-paced gunplay, and Matrix-style camera work, this movie really stands out. Now let's move to the oft-maligned genre of the musical. I'll admit, even I struggle sometimes with musicals. But there is one that I really love, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp as the title and main character, and based off the Stephen Sondheim musical of the same name, this film is a wonderful adaptation of the dark comedy. Even though it's a musical, I never feel like I'm forced out of the story like in other films. The story follows Benjamin Barker, aka Sweeney Todd, as he seeks revenge on a corrupt judge, played by Alan Rickman, for stealing his wife and exiling him from England. I have to admit, this isn't for everybody due to how dark the comedy can be at some points. But if you're a fan of the black comedy and are looking for a way to enter into the world of musicals, you can't go wrong with Sweeney Todd. Now to the horror film. My favorite, and one featuring probably one of the most well-known characters in the genre, Silence of the Lambs. Directed by Jonathan Demme, the plot follows FBI trainee Clarice Starling, Jodie Foster, as she hunts down serial killer Buffalo Bill. Though this is an interesting enough plot, where Silence of the Lambs really shines is through the cannibalistic Hannibal Lecter, who Starling must speak with in order to get the necessary clues to hunt down Buffalo Bill. Lecter, played by Sir Anthony Hopkins, is easily one of the most horrifying characters in modern film. The role is simply inspired, and every time he's on screen, you can feel an aura of terror emanating from Hopkins' amazing performance. Finally, let's finish up with my favorite comedy, and one that goes back to the time of classic Hollywood, Bringing Up Baby. Starring Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, this is a classic of screwball comedies. It all starts when paleontologist David, Cary Grant, tries to get a $1 million donation for his museum, but ends up bumping into the well-intentioned Susan, and things just snowball from there. Especially once Susan's pet leopard, Baby, gets involved. The writing is tight, the camera work is good, and the magnetism between the stars is palpable. When I want a good comedy, I always go to Bringing Up Baby. So there we go, a few of my favorite things. Silence of the Lambs, with Sir Anthony Hopkins' legendary performance as Hannibal Lecter. Sweeney Todd, with the wonderful music of Stephen Sondheim's Broadway musical and Tim Burton's unique style. Equilibrium, with its elaborately choreographed action sequences. And finally, there's Bringing Up Baby, with the witty banter of Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. These aren't my favorite films of all time, but they are up there. Obviously, I haven't been able to cover every genre there is, but I hope I've given you a sense of what I personally enjoy. If you're looking for something in one of the genres, I recommend that you check these films out. You might like them or not, but there's something to try. As for my truly favorite films, if you bump into me sometime, feel free to ask me what they are. I hope you've enjoyed the past year. I wish you much enjoyment watching movies over the summer, and I'll see you next year on Film Focus.